Are you trying to say that I shut it off by being too long-winded?
Well, I'm not gonna go there. So just a little brief history. Even myself, is it on? I'm just a volunteer. I started a Facebook page with a few people in here in Massachusetts to first of all, we encouraged Ted Cruz to run, and all of a sudden, we grew from 4 guys to about we have about 450 people in our group for volunteers. So, and we approached the Cruz campaign if we could work, and finally they got tired of us and they said, okay, you guys can do something. It's going to be unpaid, which is fine. We're all working stiffs, but so as you know, the primary is coming up in March 1st, and the only events we have going on right now is if you're willing to help get Ted Cruz elected, door knocking and phone banking is what we're doing, and you can talk to me later after the after this event.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to start our debate. Now, before I introduce the debate, there is, of course, I tried to make these things fun because I believe in putting party in the Tea Party. Okay, so you'll notice that our people, except for, of course, Tom, who is such a nonconformist, he refuses to conform, are wearing necklaces. Now I'm wearing yellow because I'm undecided. If you, as the debate goes forward, I'll be handing out glow sticks to anybody who wants one. And if you like Tom, you'll wear blue. And if you like Jan, you'll wear red. And if you're undecided, you'll stay with me in the yellow, okay? So, let's have our opening segments, and let's start with Jan.
So, obviously, I'm on the side that natural-born citizen, that Ted Cruz is a natural-born citizen, and why is it so passionate for me? I'm an immigrant, for those of you that don't know. My family and I escaped communist Romania, 1977. I was a little boy. So illegal immigration is a big topic for me, but that's not the issue. It's natural-born citizen, and when I had to take my test to become a citizen, I actually had to do a little bit more studying on what it meant to be a citizen, a naturalized citizen versus a natural-born citizen. So what is a natural-born citizen? Well, obviously, if you're not naturalized, like I was, then those of us believe that you're a natural-born citizen. And when the Constitution was written, the founders expressly looked at that they couldn't themselves, in a few months or years, draw upon or make a whole Constitution from scratch. So they used what was already in existence, which was British common law. And in fact, there's an example of the Delaware Constitution, and says the British common law was in fact regularly adopted or recognized as in force expressly in the constitutions or in the early acts of legislatures of the original 13 states after independence had been declared in July 1776. The original Constitution of Delaware, for example, stated the Constitution of England, as well as so much of the statute of the law had been therefore adopted in practice in this state, shall remain in force unless they shall be altered by future law of legislature, such parts only accepted as the repugnant to the rights and the privileges contained in the Constitution and the Declaration of Rights agreed by this convention. So obviously, we have to go by what they intended back then, and that's what their intention was. Either that someone is either a citizen by birth through one or the other parent, or by the legal process. And as far as the birth is concerned, you have 2 different types of citizenships, natural-born citizenships. One is jus sanguinis, which is of descent. So if either one of your parents, mother or father, or both are citizens, then you yourself are a citizen, or jus soli, and that's on the soil. Are you were you born on American soil? And the Nationality Act of 1940 actually went in a little further and went into describe who is a citizen as far as the children, if they're born here in the United States or abroad, which Chapter 2, Section G of the 1940 Act talks about. So nationality at birth. In order for a person to be considered natural born, the mother, they have to be born to a mother that has lived in the United States prior, for 10 years prior to the child's birth. The woman also has to have lived in the United States for at least until she was age 16, which Ted Cruz's mother did. She also had to live in the United States between the ages of 13 and 21. Now, if she wasn't, and if the other thing that they brought out was that if Ted Cruz did not come back by the time he was age 16 on American soil, then he would be, he would not be considered, his American citizenship would be taken away. And of course, Chapter 3 of the section of the 1940 Act, which there's been 1965 Act, there's been subsequent acts that have followed that pretty much say the same thing, talks about nationality through naturalization. So what's the big deal about Ted Cruz? Why is everybody saying, well, he's not a citizen, an American citizen because he was born in Canada? Well, I want to ask, why didn't anybody bring this up when Barry Goldwater ran?
Ooh.
And you guys ask, well, why is that? Well, Barry Goldwater was born not on American soil at that time. It was still, yes, Arizona Territory, but it wasn't part of the contingent United States. And then, if you guys remember, 12 years ago, John McCain. There was a big deal about John McCain, but not to the extent that it had with Ted Cruz. Well, according to the Nationality Act of 1940 and the subsequent ones, talks about that if he's in the military, or his parents were in the military, then he was technically on American basis, American soil. Okay, great, so you've got that. But still, nobody made a big deal about that, as they are with Ted Cruz. Nobody's threatening to file lawsuits. And here's the other one. And you guys, anybody remember George Romney?
Mitt's father.
Mitt's father. And guess where he was born?
Not here. Mexico.
Mexico. He was not even born on American soil. Yet nobody made a big deal about him running for president of the United States.
He was governor of Michigan.
I'm not sure, but I know.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. Of course, his family was there because his parents, George Romney's parents, were missionaries, and they, in Mexico. So that's my thing is why is everything being brought out about Ted Cruz? And obviously, we have a principled man that the establishment doesn't like, and they are willing to do and say anything that will take him down because he's going to change things. That's pretty much it.
Okay, before Tom starts, does anybody have any questions in regards to what was just said? Okay, Tom Weaver. Hi, you can hear.
I don't like microphones, so.
It's not helping, Tom, we're going to record you anyway.
All right, first of all, I am voting for the person I believe will cause the least damage to the Constitution. That's who I'm supporting. All right, now let's talk about natural born citizen. I started this back when the dear leader was running, because something about him running and his background bugged me. So I started reading books, and I've read all of Plato's and Cicero's and Bocart, all this stuff. The first question I have is that if you and your spouse are overseas and you have a child, does that country have the right to tell you that that child is their citizen? How many say yes to that? How many say no? They have no right. Okay, good. You've just passed a test. That test is the foundation of something called natural law. You've all heard it. You might not believe it, but we have this page that was written and signed on July 2nd or July 3rd, and then signed by everybody on August 26, including one of my uncles, great-great-uncle, that all men are created equal and they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. That is called natural law. About 15 years before that came out, Mr. Demas sent Ben Franklin 3 copies of a book called The Law of Nations by a Swiss guy named Emmerich Vattel, V-A-T-T-E-L. And it was the foundation, it was the first book really that took what Locke said, and Locke talked about we need a government, and Montesquieu, where he had the different things, and brought together this idea of what the law of nations is. And it was about natural law, and about the fact that your rights and everything come from God, from the divine. If you don't believe in the divine, here's the take-home point, as my friend would say. Your rights don't come from government, or a king, or even the dear leader. They come from something bigger. Now, part of that means that our nationality comes from the parents. It doesn't come from where you were born. I don't care where George Romney was born. His nationality came from his parents. Same with John McCain. His nationality came from his parents. Same with Barry Goldwater. His nationality came from his parents. That's where it's at. Now, Vattel says that a natural-born citizen is somebody who is born in a country whose parents, there's always this S, are citizens of that country. Furthermore, it's most important that the father be a citizen of the country, because the nationality passes from the father through. That's what he talks about, and he defines that as a natural-born citizen. Now, does that make sense to the people writing the Constitution? Remember, they discuss what the legislature did, they discuss semicolons, they discuss, the Federalist Papers discuss what the president, what the rules were, everything, but they never discussed natural-born citizen. So there must have been a definition that everybody understood. Kind of like as somebody once said, pizza. Everybody understands what that is. Okay? Same with natural-born citizen. So Vattel had that definition. Our founders were very afraid of a king, of a president. And if you read Madison's papers, they will come out that they had a discussion once upon a time where if we brought in somebody to represent us and we elected him president and his father was not an American, how could we be sure that person would be in the best interest of the United States? And they punted. Well, one of the Supreme Court Justice, John Jay, who did not attend the Constitution, wrote a letter to his friend George Washington and said, the most important aspect of a commander-in-chief shall be that he shall be a natural-born citizen. Again, there was no definition. The only written definition at the time of the Constitution was in the book called The Law of Nations, Natural-Born Citizen. They referred to the Law of Nations in the Declaration. It's never explained what it means, unless you go read it in association with piracy and other things, and then you'll see what it means. They even use the term Law of Nations in the Constitution. Nobody ever defines what it means. It's kind of funny that the book called The Law of Nations also defines natural-born citizen. That's what it meant. So 1 week after John Jay gave this letter to George Washington, the Committee of Style submitted a thing that the president shall be a natural-born citizen, he can be impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors, and he shall be elected by an electoral college. This is the only provision in the Constitution that was accepted unanimously and without discussion. Now those are pretty big things. Natural-born citizen, high crimes and misdemeanors, and electoral college. It's like everybody understood. Red means stop, green means go. Now, in doing my research, over 75% of the framers and founders had the book, The Law of Nations. Thomas Jefferson actually put the book into core curriculum of William and Mary. It's basically the fundamental. Now, a lot is said about common law. Common law is good. There's a lot of people that confuse it. Does common law ever use the term natural-born citizen? I'll share you, I won't keep you in suspense. No, it doesn't. In common law, you are a natural-born subject. If you were born on somebody's soil like Canada or England, you are a natural-born subject of Canada or England, and it is your duty to take up arms and fight with the king because it's his duty to make sure you stay safe. So you're born knowing you're going to be in the military. That's what natural born subject means. And that's what common law is based on. James Wilson, who was also an associate, he signed the Declaration and the Constitution, he was Associate Justice. When he sat down, he wrote a series of letters and stuff for the University of Pennsylvania. And one of his big treatises, it's really interesting reading, is that you cannot ever use common law other than the form in which a law is made to interpret what the United States is, because we are a liberal nation in the good sense, not in the Nancy Pelosi sense. We are a liberal nation who believes in the maximum freedom of man. So the definition of, in my mind, of natural born citizen is somebody born in this country whose parents are citizens. Parents, as in whatever. Now, I heard Ted Cruz. I love Ted Cruz. I think Ted Cruz is fantastic. It's driving me absolutely crazy because of my research. But the other day he said children born, the first Nationality Act of 1790, children born abroad whose parents shall be deemed natural born citizens. And he went on. And he spread over it, he made it sound, everybody goes, oh, okay. But here's the phrase in the nationality law of 1790, passed by the first Congress, the second session. Children born abroad whose parents are citizens shall be deemed natural born citizens. Can anybody take that to be children born abroad who either parent is a citizen shall be deemed natural born citizens? See, I've never been able to get around that parsing of English. In my mind, children whose parents with an S. Right? Now that definition, children born abroad whose parents are citizens shall be deemed natural born citizens, is consistent with what Vitale said in chapter 19, and you can go online, read chapter 19, it's kind of cool. And it's also consistent with what Blackstone calls a natural born subject. If you're born abroad, da-da-da-da-da. So, let's forget Ted Cruz, let's forget anybody. We all understand, if you come to the United States, we just all agreed that if we were traveling and we had a child, the country could not say that child is a citizen. Well, we have candidates that are here, whose parents were here legally, but they were not citizens that are born here or running for president. Now, where did their citizenship come from? It's a very admirable thing. Their parents naturalized, and upon that date, children under 18 naturalized. That covers two candidates. They were born here, they're native born. That gets to a court case well after the Constitution in 1898 called the Ark case. And it was a Chinese couple that was here, and they had a cleaning store, and the child was born. They were here legally, they were paying taxes, they had a business, they never became Americans, they went home. The child, who had now grown up, went to visit mom and dad, came back, they wouldn't let him in. He said, wait a minute, I'm a Native American. Yes, he is. And the court said, yes, you are, and you can naturalize him, da-da-da-da. Now, we have precedents for that. It's called Native Americans. They're born here. Are they citizens of the United States? No. No. They can become citizens if they naturalize. See, that is all part of natural law. If we don't understand natural law, then anybody coming across the border who has a child, that child can be considered an American citizen because they were born here. But the 14th Amendment, which was written to basically offset the worst Supreme Court in the history of mankind, called Dred Scott, decided, put two things. You're a citizen of the country if you're naturalized or born, and then there's this really little word called and. And the next phrase is, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Now, if we believe in natural law, that jurisdiction means our nationality comes from our parents. If somebody's here illegally, they are subject to the jurisdiction, but they're also subject to the jurisdiction of Mexico or Honduras or Poland or wherever they come from. God bless them. But that anchor baby is not a citizen of the United States. That anchor baby is not a dream child or whatever it is. That anchor baby is a citizen of Mexico or Honduras or China or wherever they come from. That's what, if we believe in natural law. It's really tough to mix it. And again, I'm supporting Ted Cruz. I think he's a great man. I think he'll do less damage to the Constitution than anybody else. I just wish he was qualified per the Constitution. But he will do less damage than anybody else because he believes in every other aspect of it. So it gets my brain going crazy because I want somebody that on both sides. That's my point on the natural born citizen. All of the stuff, please look up. If you don't believe me, look up Mattel. You can read, I think it's chapter 9 of Blackstone, and it's common law. That's where you'll get to where it's natural, or just Google natural born subject, it'll pop it up. Go to John Locke. That's where all the emphasis came that we are created in the image of God, because that was in his second book. His first book was all about how Jesus and God actually gave all this power to the kings, and it was kind of interesting reading. It is fun. So, any questions? Go ahead, yes.
So, if Ted Cruz is not a natural born citizen, and he has not been naturalized, then is he a citizen at all by your definition?
Yes, he is a citizen. His mom was a citizen, therefore he is. He's also a Cuban. And according to common law, he's also a British subject or Canadian. So at age 18 or whatever, you pick which one you're going to be. That's where the dual citizen comes from. You got a father and a mother. Again, the founders did not trust giving a lot of power, even executive power, to one person. At one point, they thought about having 3 people, one from the north, one from the south, one from the middle. They discussed, that was on the books for about 4 weeks out of the 12 weeks they were in session. They just didn't trust it because of what King George, so they wanted to make sure. Now they exempted themselves from the natural born citizen clause because they didn't want to write a constitution, and the first thing the first president did was disobey what they were. They were all citizens. They became citizens on July 4th, 1776. But they said that anybody born or alive during this period shall not be subject to the natural born citizen, because there would be no way that they could have parents born here to have kids.
Right.
So they actually exempted themselves. If it were just a citizen, that'd be one thing. Okay? Yes.
What about Trump's call to have Cruz adjudicated by a judge?
I don't think-
Is that a runaround that he's trying to do? What's your take on that?
As Cruz said the other day, if you're going to sue me, do it. Okay? Trump is a lot. I'll vote for Trump, but he scares the living bejesus out of me. Okay? I don't know that I can deal with 4 more years of a narcissist, egotistical bastard. I just think it would drive me crazy. But yes, he could, but I don't know that he has standing. Now, who does have standing, and what does scare me, is that any Secretary of State, like a Virginia, Republican, Democrat Secretary of State, North Carolina, Montana, Kentucky, Missouri, any one of those legally can look at it and say he's not qualified to be on the ballot, and they might come to Jesus and come up with the definition. That scares the bejeebies out of me. And I don't know that the courts can react quick enough to get Ted Cruz back on the ballot. That scares me.
Tom, isn't it in Ted Cruz's best interest, and him being the bright fellow that he is, I would imagine he's already got this planned out, that he would get the question resolved quickly, get a definitive decision for his own good, so no one else can trump him on it, if you will.
That's very good. Yes, you would think that. But when I ran for Congress, there were certain things against me, but my ego stopped me from looking at what people would see besides the fat short bald headed guy with the beard. Okay? And my ego wouldn't let me go there. So, again, I like Ted Cruz. I'm a native Texan. I think Ted Cruz is fantastic. I think he's what we need. I wish he had more of a record on how to do stuff, but he is bright. But when he goes into why he's legal and stuff, the definition is too long. It takes too long to explain it.
Well, doesn't he need an objective other party issuing that, whether it's the Supreme Court, which is a bit in flux right now as it is.
Well, the Supreme Court, yeah, but.
Can't they
yes.
definitively say, yes, you're qualified, so none of the secretaries of state can pull anything?
We can do that. But just because the Supreme Court rules on it doesn't mean that it's constitutional. Just, we've already seen that.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Okay. We're 20 trillion in debt because we've only violated the Constitution a little. Each time. It's just a little bit. I mean, it reminds me of when I first dated, but I'm not going to go any further than that. You know, it's that type of mentality. And it's sad. Now, do I think Ted Cruz and Bobby Jindal could do awesome other jobs? Yes, there's hundreds of other jobs. Yes.
Let me first preface that I'm in favor of Cruz as well. But if the founders were here today, what they would be afraid of with Ted Cruz is that because his father is Cuban, and as president, he comes up with a situation where he has to make a decision against Cuba.
Yes.
He might not do it because his father was Cuban.
Right, and that's what, because we all know where our heart and soul comes from. That's part of natural law. It's from your thing. Now, would he do it? I don't think so. But at the time, if Castro had been overthrown, Teddy Cruz wouldn't be a senator from Texas. They would have gone back. I would go back. I mean, it's beautiful. I love Gitmo. It was fantastic when I was there years ago, not recently with the headband. Yes.
I know some first and second generation Cubans, and I guarantee they wouldn't be voting in anything's favor of Cuba until there's a change down there in their
Oh, yeah.
political leaders.
But I think
Not
that
all.
argument, you could, by that definition, then if his father had been a naturalized U.S. citizen
Before he was born.
before he was born, how is that any different than if he was not naturalized? It's not a Cuban father. Would you worry about him having any?
No, because he had naturalized. He took an oath to defend and protect and to love his country. The oath you took,
Did
right?
his father ever become a citizen?
Yes, he did, 15 years after he was born.
And another thing to throw in here too, to be honest, is the current guy in the White House
Is not a natural born
is
citizen.
not a natural born citizen. And if you want to look at, you know, the law, the natural law, under the Muslim religion, the father dictates everything.
It doesn't really matter if he's Muslim or not. The fact is, Barack Obama has said that his dad's a Kenyan. That's not an American citizen. That was a British subject. So Obama was not a natural born citizen. Now people will call you birthers. Okay, fine. He was born in Hawaii. I don't care. His father was not a subject. What did Obama do his first or second day in office? He took the bust of Churchill and sent it back to honor his father. Oh, just the thing. Our founders were, I'll close with one thing. Our founders were very, please, read the Constitution. They made the Constitution and Declaration where all of us can understand with very little homework. For instance, if we understood the difference between the term resident and inhabitant, Hillary Clinton wouldn't be on the stage. Because to be a senator or a congressman, you need to be an inhabitant. An inhabitant is where you've lived for the majority of your life. It's your cave, it's got your dwellings, it's this. It's not you plop in and you buy a house and put a couple of things in it. That's a resident. In fact, Bobby Kennedy would have never been senator of New York either. Sure. If we only read. The founders were right, the framers were right. Obamacare would not be a law if we had not amended the Constitution to allow the Senate to be elected by the people. Because 36 states would have gone, what are you, nuts? And we would not have Obamacare. The founders were, the framers were pretty good. They discussed an income tax and said, no, the federal government should not get involved in that. We work with the states work with the people. But no, we abolished that. Now we have one of the largest police forces in the world that knows no laws. I try to be an originalist for one reason. If I don't understand the rules like I don't today, I believe I'm not living in freedom and have liberty. Because I don't know how people are going to interpret things.
Amen. That's true.
That's it. Thank you very much.
All right. You know, we're going to have to take a pause for a second.
Oh, okay.
Nope, we're good.
Okay, we can run.
Ready to go?
But we do have to get to the debate part. Now, like I said, I'm gonna be handing out the glow sticks, because, you know, it's better television.